Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. Our next session will be begun by a question and answer session. If any of the audience has any queries or any doubts that they wish to get clarified by our guests here, I would encourage them to ask the questions now.
My question is actually addressed to you, Rajshri. Jayashree, sorry. You said all the very correct things about Padma. I mean, the whole world has recognized her genius and the kind of work she has done, no doubt about it. When she started, there was only one question which rose in the minds of a lot of people. That is, style is a matter of non-use or less use of certain parts of the body. That is how a style emerges, Because certain parts of the body you'll use more, certain parts less, certain parts not at all. That is what the technique prescribes. Without that, there is no style. A style always means that different parts of the body are given importance differently. You see? So, Bharatanatyam has got a particular style. And what you used to call Dasyatam, which later on became Bharatanatyam, whatever it is. And this was the tradition which people believed in, which they knew about, which they had seen a long time. What Padma did was tremendous research work into Shastra. The Natya Shastra codifies the entire body. And literally, the entire plethora of movements that the body is capable of are mentioned in Shastra. With the result, all dance styles can trace some movements from the Natya Shastra. They say, we've got this. But there are other things which are very regional, which are very particular to all the styles. Because even our classical styles, I mean, let's face it, they're all Desi styles. Now, when she was doing this research, a stage came when she felt that it couldn't be just on the drawing board as a kind of a research. She wanted to bring it into practice. And her foundation was Bharatanatyam. So she brought it into Bharatanatyam. Now there was a doubt in people's minds. They said, what is happening to the style? Katichinna, when you're using the kati that way, which the Bharatanatyam doesn't allow at all. You see? So there are lots of other extraneous things coming in, which you feel are not part of the general aesthetics of the style as convention has made it out to be, the way in which people understand that particular style. So there was a lot of confusion in people's minds, what is happening, you see. So when she called it Bharatanatyam, there was this tremendous amount of disagreement and resentment in certain people who couldn't take this in because it was too alien to what they were used to. But then when she called it Bharata Nritta, it was a different thing because what she was trying to do was something very different. So when you talk of style and you talk of the work that Padma has done, I think that is where people have found. I also found a lot of difficulty in accepting what she was doing in the beginning. Let me be very frank, because I thought people were doing just Bharatanatyam, this linear dimension of the style, and suddenly you go into something which is so completely different. I said, what is happening here? It was difficult for me to accept. Now, she has become a kind of a dictionary of the vocabulary of the Natya Shastra. And everybody goes to learn from her, one of the greatest scholars in Sanskrit, there's no doubt about it. And they take a lot from her. And people who come from different stylistic backgrounds, they go to her. And whatever they think fits into their particular form of dance, they take out of what she has taught, and then they use it, you see. So that is what is happening. Now, when you talk of her passing it on as a kind of a tradition which will go on for some time, let me tell you, I'm very frank, and I don't mean to find fault with anybody. The way those movements and what she has done sits on her body does not sit on the body of her students. I'm sorry I have to say this, but even amongst her near and dear ones, they're all great dancers. They are beautiful singers. Their understanding of the entire vocabulary of movement and everything is extraordinary. But the way in which it used to sit on her body, let's not think of her at this age. I mean, she's quite old now, but when she was young, there was nothing that body could not do. I have not found it sitting as easily, comfortably on the bodies of others. Now, this is where I've had some problems. So, if you can enlighten me on that.
After enlightenment, we go.
You want to ask something? You want me to give a common answer?
Opinion also about this form.
The same. Thank you, Manjari ji. Even before I start answering, she's saying, "Aapke body mein bahut acha fit hua." I'm sorry, my costume gave me so much of limitation. Could not lift my leg and do it. But yes, what she says is absolutely true, because the Deshis can be identified by their own grammar. The Deshis have taken some elements from Natya Shastra, and those things they've perfected according to their pravritti, their regional preference. So there are those straight lines, angularity of Bharatanatyam, which is beautiful, because she used to keep telling, unless you raise your hand like this, I'll just tell you one experience which may be of interest to some of the students. Because when doing her research, first she went to all the Devadasis, and they were all really, there were some of them were in the bed and all that, but she said, have you learned anything about Karanas? She said, Karanava? I've never heard of the word Karana. I've only heard what is known as Kutti Karnam, that is, tumbling, like somersault, whatever you may call it. So she said, no. Then she said, you are a Bharatanatyam dancer? Then she said, yes. She said, okay. And she did the Kidataka Tarikadam, how she had learned Vazhuvur Ramya Pillai. She suddenly came into a Josh. She sat up saying, Nanna Vela. She said, it's not nice at all. And then she said, you know how the hand has to come? Go till there, turn it at your face, leave the elbow there, and bring it down where this and your index finger points down. I'll tell you, till today, she taught this when she was teaching us, and till today, we cannot change this aspect of it, because she said, I learned this and I realized how beautiful it was. And she said, can you do it like this? So she made her do. Why I'm saying this incident is, she learned the earlier style that existed with the Devadasis. In spite of being Vazhuvur Ramya Pillai's student, she did make the changes which were necessary for Bharatanatyam at that time. Whenever she learned something was more, maybe looked more beautiful and learned from an earlier Devadasi. But when she started, as she said, when she started her research, all that she knew was Bharatanatyam. So she was, very anxious to put it to practice. So where will she put it to practice? So as I told you, that Mattali, she started like that, and then we would come forward. She said, I think it looks nice. She didn't think of what would happen, what would be the reaction. But she also accepts that, when Subbadu Mama called it Padma Natyam, I felt that, yes, I have to give a different identity to this style. Yes, that is why she said, she thought of it for quite some time, and she said, I'll call it Bharata Nrityam, because it is Nrityam, and I would like to give it a different identity where you see a synthesis of the Marga and the Deshi. The Bharatanatyam, now actually when we teach Bharatanatyam in the Shastra University, she teaches items exactly as it has to be in Bharatanatyam, but they also learn some of the charis and karanas, and there are some items with those, to understand the elements of Bharatanatyam if they wish to choose to go into that line. If they don't, then they will have a pure Bharatanatyam. There are Shabdam. Actually, we never learned the Shabdam, to be quite frank. Because she said Varnam and Shabdam, Rennu Chendi, together, like Shabdam becomes a little redundant because there's so much scope in Varnam. So she said, you don't have to do that. You learn the Pushpanjali, and that's how we learned. But in the syllabus now we have a typical Alaripu. It may be Tishra Alaripu for one group, Chatushra Alaripu for another group. They have to learn it in Talam, Jatiswaram, everything I had learned originally. That's, the syllabus covers that, but the MFA syllabus has some charis, some karanas, and she uses them in her choreography, saying this is Bharatanatyam, where the Marga and the Deshi have a confluence. The Marga is what I have recreated, but the Deshi is the Bharatanatyam Deshi that I know. So I have synthesized it into that. So when, like she said, so many dancers of different field, they come to learn. She identifies, in fact, when she did her serial on Karanas, she uses certain instruments like tabla for those moments which like Avartitakam, and some of the Karanas where it looks like Kathak. She's used tabla. What looks like Odissi, she uses Pakavaj. What looks more like Kathakali or Mohiniyattam, she's used Yadaka and Shuddhamadalam. So that, she says, over the years, at least those artists with the instruments will identify that this will be ideal for their style. She did not change her costume because she used the costume, at least Aharya and all that, as it is seen in the Chidambaram temple with the Karanda Makudam. So we are all using that in Bharatanatyam. All of us have that and those, ringlets and that costume with the, the Markacham and all that. So we use that costume so that it strikes. Again, it's the Aharya. If somebody comes in Bharatanatyam costume, they're going to do Bharatanatyam. Kathak ke liye Kathak. But when they see us in this costume, they know, okay, this is far removed from Bharatanatyam, but some similarity. So in the beginning, we announce. So when she's created a pedagogy for us to take it forward, we are using this as a format, telling the students, in fact, even in my class, I start first with some angas which are necessary for learning the Bharatanatyam adavus. Then after that, we come to charis, because how long children are going to be with you? And we teach the hastas of Abhinay Darpana so that if they go to another school, they don't look foolish. Or they'll say, we learned this, we never learned that. Hastas of Natya Shastra are slightly different. When we know those children have finished the Praveshika, then we introduce them to all this. So does that satisfy you, ma'am? Yeah.
Some observation, since I knew Jayashree when she was learning, and it was a good occasion because I was in time earlier than Leelaji, and we were confronted by, Padma suddenly came on the scene. And I remember when Naveen Khandwala from Bharati Vidya Bhavan brought her father, Subramaniam Sir, Sunil organized under Dancers Guild. Why not we have the lecture demonstration by Padma? So we came and Guru Parvati Kumar came. Now when Parvati Kumar ji comes, he knows the Natya Sar by heart. And then we were very anxious, Sunil and I were very keen that we want to know what she's doing. So beautiful work she's going to do. And of course Naveen Bhai had done his wonderful PR work and all. Then suddenly Parvati Kumar ji got angry and began to ask and began to recite shlokas. So even that time I had little courage to say, Parvati Kumar ji, this is not Kurukshetra, this is Dharma Kshetra, and we have come to learn from Paddu, and Paddu is a young girl, and she's trying to say something to us. We want to know. आपका जो क्वेश्चन है बाद में बताना, अभी हमको मत बोलने देना, हम बोलना चाहते हैं।
आप बोल दीजिए।
नहीं, उनको बताया मैंने।
उनको बताया, मैं भी अभी कुछ बोलने वाली हूँ।
अच्छा, then we met her backstage. We say we are very anxious. Then she said, if you have got the Natya Shastra, come in. They went and met her father. Sonal and I went. We opened the Natya Shastra. We learned about Karna and all. We were inquired because it was interesting what she was doing. Totally something very unusual which we had not known. And we had certain humility also to know that we didn't know. We know Natya Shastra. We didn't know what is this Karna and what is this Tandav Lakshanam chapter. She gave the book also Tandav Lakshanam. She was wonderful. Let me tell you one thing about her. Even if I criticize her, she has been extremely graceful about it. She has not shown any anger about it. Privately she might have told me, but otherwise not. Then we saw her Meenakshi Kalyanam, and Bharata Iyer took us there. And my God, she was so young, but that dance drama of Meenakshi Kalyanam took her breath away. Whatever you used to describe today are memories to us, etc. Now here was one, somebody was coming, and as earlier you said or somebody said, I think Parimal, that we are going to 200-year-old. आपने कहा तो वो नटुनार संप्रदाय से हमारा कंडीशनिंग हो गया था। तो ये जो नाट्य साहित्य का कीर्तक तरीके तो वो डायगोनल्स है, उससे अलग आने लगा, तो आश्चर्य होने लगा. Then there was something which I told her कि Paddu, even Kati Chinnam, somewhere which is called Auchityam, that is not helping me. That she didn't take as a comment, okay, I was saying against her. But I said something which is Auchityam, it doesn't fit in over there. I began to tell later on, okay, when you do in a dance drama, if you can bring which is relevant to the character, it will look very nice. But otherwise, if an item which I suddenly see, I'll find it difficult. I must have written things about her, etc., praising her, also criticizing her, somewhere disagreeing with her. Then one day, it was with Chandralekha. I say, you can't not come and see Chandru. You don't do Chandra. You must come and see what is happening in dance. She came. She liked it also very much. But she said, Sunil, my only worry is this. If it to be all the time traced to Natya Shastra and the heavy burden of the authenticity of the Natya Shastra would come on us, we are going to be very frightened. We are very frightened with the 4 or 5 scholars, including Sunil Kodari. When you say something in Sanskrit, we get intimidated. Now, if she can take our intimidation of it, it will be wonderful. And A, which is still, I hold it correctly, suppose she had not to make any claim. She would come and without saying anything about Natya Shastra, she would perform, my God. Chandra said, my God, what is this woman created? Taking from sculpture, taking from this thing, wonderful body she had. What would be wonderful? This would be something very, what we call contemporary modern dance. What she would bring, which within our understanding of the dance, Natya Shastra, Shilpa and all, it fits in very beautifully. I did ask her one question, Paddu, if you say this go to 4th century, then what about the music? I did ask her once, and she said, yeah, I have to tell you, I'm using the music, which is music which you are familiar. Correct. I said, then there is some discordant to me, that if you were to create this form which you want to create, Paddu, the music will have to go as such created earlier time, or what will fit in, etc., but not the same music which, see, my association with Shabdam, or whatever ragas in Varnam, etc., Puri Kalyani, or whatever, I have become very well known to this raga. I say, that give me another feeling than the feeling of when you are dancing in your other karanas. I want, no, I'm not asking.
I just want
Leela,
to tell
I'm
you.
not asking.
Leela ji, I want to tell you, she did do research on
She
the
must have done
music,
that also.
and she was stopped by her family to publish it. They said, already you're getting so much of brickbats, you want to go and say it is so
No,
close to Western music where you can have tonal, you know, the murchanas, they can change, tonic changes.
But expecting that, I
So
said,
well,
to
no,
my,
I'm
my
sorry.
awareness, to my response to the dance form which is coming to me, has a discordant note somewhere, because I'm still going back to the Bharatanatyam music which I'm familiar with, and I'm seeing the movements which are different. That was the only point we said. I also begin to think, Parimal को अभी मैंने कि आप यहाँ पढ़ा रहे हो तभी परिमल तो आया नहीं. I said, how do your students look at this thing? They are contemporary. They have not been so well versed as I am or Leela to see earlier what Acharya or this Varu Ramaya Pillai were doing, or what Kitappas were doing. I have seen 7, 8 gurus, and I know their style. The moment a dancer comes, I say, this is from this school. Itna mujhe malum tha. Now they have not known. But he said very beautifully today, Parimal, say, suppose my students who are not familiar with all that you people are, and if they were to see now, they would like to know what was happening. Yeah. So not only taking out, they would say that academically we want to know. Academically, she's sound. I also say she's sound, marvelous, because when we started in Abhinav Bharati, then we began to feel what was the sthana, how the movements would go. 17th book, 17th slokas of Abhinav Gita Govind are done by Vasudev Shastri. I got that book. He showed so beautifully hastas that you can, if you follow instruction, you can do entire Rashtrapati. Now that much work she was doing so beautifully. There's no question. Padma's going deep into Sakha. She took me to the Kumbhakonam temple. I went with her to all the temples to see all the Karanas. Kumbhakonam has different Karanas. She would climb and show the Karanas which are 81 in the Tanjavur. She took me there and she said, look Sunil, I'm trying to do that. If there are 4 hastas,
they show the animation.
Yeah. So it can show animation. Very good point. Then Kapilaji also told us that dance, these particular slokas are intermediate movement. And once we understood that they are not poses, then one day with Kamala was doing something in Bombay, and Paddu also there. Then, because Padma had studied also from Ramaya Pillai, so had Kamala. So they say, I'm not doing the poses. These are intermediary movements which become like a movement. Yes. So many areas she threw light on. Only thing which I used to say also with Kanakben, if you don't throw the authority of Natya Shastra constantly on us, it will be little. आज उन्होंने बताया इतनी अच्छा तरह नाट्य, आप तो बहुत बहन जी के पास सीख चुकी हो हमको।
sir,
इंटिमिडेशन नहीं आना चाहिए था, मेरा कहना इतना इंटिमिडेशन नहीं आना
No, no, we are not, it's not a question of intimidation at all. It's a question of bringing to, it's an information being given to the public. It's your choice, you want to take it or you don't take it. If I say you are standing in Ayata, I am standing in an Ayata Sthana, because this is not just for dance, understand, Natya Shastra is theatre. When it says a sthana like this, it means a lady can stand like this, a man can stand like this. When it says purusha sthanas and stri sthanas, it shows the gender of the sthana and not meant for men and women. Rama is often shown in sthana. He is supposed to be the most handsome and most, I mean, whatever Ravi Verma has shown us. Yeah, just a moment. Let me just. No, because I get, I want to show them. And when we Alida Sthana, Durga is shown in the sculpture in the Mahabalipuram Mahishasuramardini cave, shown in the Alida Sthana like this. So it is the gender of that. And when we talk about it, it is information given to the public. It's your choice whether you want to take it or not. If you say, whatever I do, why should I go back to Natya Shastra? You don't have to. But the fact that whatever you do has been mentioned in the Natya Shastra is something that we cannot deny. You accept or you don't accept, that is your choice. And in fact, I want to tell you what Parvati Kumarji, who was after, we had done the Karanas for my Silver Jubilee, he couldn't come. I went and took the, whatever I honor him with, and I took my album to show. He was very happy and he said, but one thing I don't like about what Padma has done, and why is she not using the shlokas of the Karanas? I said, Guruji, with all apologies to what you're asking, I want to clarify to you. I'll just have to demonstrate, so I have to do away with the mic. See, Abhinav Gupta, can you hold? Yeah. See, Abhinav Gupta says, in Natya Shastra, the sutra says, I'm going to tell only in English, I'm not telling the shloka, because Pushpa Putta on the left side, there is a Natam here, and there is a Agratala Pada Bhera. Okay. If we read the Natya Shastra shloka, it will seem like a pose. But Abhinava Gupta, who came in the 10th century, realized there is already some kind of a distance between theory and practice. So in his commentary, he says, to do this karana, you have to use Adhyartikachari or Avidhachari. Avidhachari comes like this, and he says if you're going to use Avidhachari, that is lifting the leg like this, doesn't matter to you. See, you have to go like this, then the Pushpa Putta Hasta is on the left, and he says you have to move only towards the left corner of the stage, because that southeast is Ishanyam. And you have to take this Pushpa Putta for Shiva. So he says in the Abhinav Bharati itself, he says, so we do Tam. Tam. This is Avidhachari, and each time we finish with this. He also says we can use Adhyartikachari and Vyavartita Parivartita Hasta, and thus Paduka is identified, Padmaji has identified in those four arms of the Tanjavur figures. The first Karana has got two hands here and two here. How do you identify that? Vyavartitam, Parivartitam, finishing like this. The Adhyartika is Tam, the Tak. So I am doing the Tam, the Tak, Din, the Ta. I again come back to Pushpa Putta on my left, Agratala Sanchara and a Natam. In the previous one, the Natam was creating a Tribhangi. In this one, it's creating a Dvibhangi. This is like collecting the flowers into the Putta. This is what we demonstrated together in Ujjain. And Patiji and all were so happy. They said, for the first time, we understood Abhinav Bharati. As she said, oh, he bahut kasht hai. Abhinav Bharati language is higher. But if you have to understand, then when I told this to Parvati Kumarji, he said, see how great a scholar he is. He said, एकदम सही बताई. अगर उसने वो श्लोक यूज करके किया, though it will look as though she's not using the shloka.
Yeah.
Because the shloka just looks like a pose. She said, I agree with what you said.
Wonderful.
I really felt so happy. What a great scholar. Meeting scholars.
Great, it was great.
And I think we are all just blessed.
You know, I must tell all of you, since everybody has been talking certain things which they didn't agree with in Padma's work, I heard her in Trivandrum speak on a comparative study of karate and Bharatanatyam.
And I said, what is she going to say? And she had all the karate workers on one side, practitioners, and she had the Bharatanatyam people on the other side. Bharatanatyam people on the other side. I tell you, the kind of comparison she gave was just extraordinary. She said it's the same movement, it's the same thing, the same karana, but in one, the result is you are doing it to protect yourself in karate. In the other, you are trying to create aesthetics of movement. And when you have these two different purposes, they take a course which is different and they become something dissimilar. And she showed this through so many examples that I was absolutely amazed. I mean, that is the learning of the lady, and if you go through her books on the Natya Shastra, she says that since all the styles do trace some movements or the other from the Natya Shastra, this is the old India, which gives you the entire Bharat movement in one concise area. And this is the old India. That's why she calls it the Margi and the Desi. We are all doing the Desi. She says in the Margi, she said, people come and ask me, why are you doing Kathak? I said, I've never learned Kathak in my life. It's just that I've followed the Natya Shastra and they are like Kathak movements. Similarly, people are asking, why are you doing Odissi? She's done Odissi. She says, I've never studied. It's there and it looks like Odissi because the Tribhanga and everything is there. And similarly, all the other styles also.
A course of learning. Every moment I was with her, it was a moment of learning for us, and especially scholars like y'all, when they used to have interaction, it was a process of learning for us. So when she spoke karate, those were similar to the mandalas mentioned in Natya Shastra. In the 20th chapter, there are 10 Bhu mandalas and 10 Akasha mandalas, which are meant for fight sequences. So if you defend yourself with Adhyartikachari, you attack in Alidasthana. So, these movements, they are very clearly given and we can use them, and we've done the study of this for Dasha. She did this. And there he says, it comes, this chapter on Charis, it doesn't come under the Tandava Lakshana. In Tandava Lakshana, when Karanas are described, after that the combination of Karanas become Angaharas, and and then after that the combination of Angaharas can become Pindi Bandha. It goes on like that. Then all the Rechakas are given, the slightest Rechaka, which is without Rechaka, it's like without, you sing without Gamaka. So Rechakas are very necessary for the movement, the flow of the movement in the entire body. But in the later chapters, where the sthanas and charis are described,
Jayashree
mandala.
Jayashree ji, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. I think Roshan Tai wants to make up. And after that, I think we will move on to our next focus group.
मैं बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं कहने वाली हूँ. इन्होंने जो 2 करण है, मैंने भी कुछ करणों का कथक के हिसाब से विचार किया हुआ है, और मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि कथक के नृत्य पक्ष में करणों का बहुत ज़्यादा उपयोग होता है. अभी थोड़ा जो काम कर रही हूँ मैं, उसमें से करणों के जो श्लोक है वो हर एक के समझ में है, इसलिए हिंदी में उसको ट्रांसलेट कर रही हूँ. अभी चेतना जी को मैंने कुछ दिखाया, 87 करणास को मैंने ट्रांसलेट किया हुआ है हिंदी में. थोड़ा सा उसमें कम ज़्यादा हो सकता है, मेरी जो हिंदी की समझ है उस हिसाब से, पर वो किया है. अभी इन्होंने जो 2 ही करण बताए वही मैं बताना चाहती हूँ. वली तोरु करण पहले आपने ऊपर बताया था. वली तोरु का यानी ट्रांसलेशन ऐसा है कि उरुओं का दूसरे साइड में किया हुआ वलन. वली तो उरु, एक साइड से दूसरे साइड में किया हुआ वलन, और उसके बाद बाहर की तरफ किया हुआ वलन. और अभी आपने बताया जो तल पुष्पपुट पहला करण है, उसमें पुष्पपुट मुद्रा है, अग्रतल संचर पाद है और नत कटी कटी को नत किया हुआ है। बात कथकीय है, सुनाई देता है पीछे? बहुत लंबा चौड़ा घाघरा पहनते हैं तो हमारे कुछ पैर दिखते ही नहीं और उसमें से लगता है कि हमारे इसमें कुछ कर्णों का दिख है। तो वली तोरू का है, जैसे इधर से उधर करना है, थुन थुन न थुन या कीड़े तक थुन थुन नाटे टेता, ये करेक्ट वली तोरू का हिसाब है। कीड़े तक पल्लवस्त, कीड़े तक थुन थुन नाटे टेता, अंदर और बाहर भी टाइप है, ये मेरा नहीं है, ये बेबी टाइप का है। कीड़े तक थुन थुन नाटे टेता, ये हो गया। फिर धा दिनता कीड़े धा दिनता पवित्र है, धा दिनता कीड़े धा दिनता, या इस तरह से कर जाए फिर ता, ये अगर लिया तो ये करहस्त का क्या हो गया। एक सिंपल तोड़े में बता रही हूँ जो बोलो में। और फिर अभी आपने बताया तल पुष्प पुट नत कटी को नत करना, अग्रतल संचय पाद और पुष्प पुट ता थे तत्ते थे। वाह करेक्ट, क्या बात। ता थे यहाँ तल पुष्प पुट आ गया, पहले यहाँ पे सूची तत्ते थे। वाह, ये हो गया। अगर बैठना है हमको, बैठ के अगर सम लेते कई बार लेते तो ये शकटास्य कर्म हो गया। बहुत सुंदर हमारे हिसाब से, यानी जो व्याख्या दी है जी, मैंने बाकी कुछ नहीं पढ़ा, मैंने सिर्फ नाट्य शास्त्र को देखा है और उसके जो करण है ये कथक में किस तरह से करते हैं। और मैं समझती हूँ कि कथक का जिसे हम क्या कहना समझते मुख्य करण है या मुख्य विधा है या मुद्रा है, ये एक कही जाती है जो तत्ताथे तत्ताथे, ये प्रसर्तिकरण का पूरी व्याख्या बताता है। एक हाथ रेचिता, दूसरा हाथ लताहस्त और पैरों में प्रसर्पित, सरकते हुए चलो। इसको मैंने बताया, ये है श्लोक ऐसा है, एकस्तु रेचितो हस्त लताख्यस्तु तथा परः प्रसर्पित तलो पादो प्रसर्पितकम एव। ललित सुभग हाथ उठावे, तुझा हस्त लता कहलाए, पगतल सुंदर सरकत जावे, वह प्रसर्पित करे।
थैंक यू सो मच रोशन।
जब ज्वेलरी अगले सेशन के लिए लोगों को आमंत्रित कर रही है और मामला इतना भारी भरकम हो गया है, इतना इंटिमिडेटिंग हो गया है, तो विदूषक की भूमिका निभाते हुए मैं आपको एक लतीफ़ा हाजिर करने लगा, क्योंकि जिसमें कि आप अगला जो सेशन है वो झेल पाएँ और खुश होकर के। तो आप ये सुनिए कि जो अभी जिन बातों की चर्चा की गई थी, दो ऐसे उदाहरण मैं देना चाहती हूँ। और ऐसा नहीं कि केवल आपके साथ ये विपत्ति गुजरती है, बड़े बड़े पंडितों के साथ गुजरती है। पंडित बिरजू महाराज ने भाग्य चंद्र फेस्टिवल मणिपुर में बहुत बड़ी चीज़ हो रही थी, उसके लिए उन्होंने विशेष रूप से भोपाली के 5 सुरों के अलग एक एक घुंघरू बजा करके पूरी तैयार की, सारे ग प ध सा सा ध प ग रे सा। अब जैसे पल्लवी होती है उस प्रकार राग का रूप ध्वनि चित्र तैयार किया और सारी भूमिका अद्भुत थी, सारा संगीत अद्भुत था और कमबख्त सितार वाले ने कोमल धैवत लगा दिया। आय हाय हाय हाय, अब आप समझिए क्या गुजरी होगी कि बढ़िया बिरयानी के बीच में दांत के नीचे कंकड़ी आ जाए। तो और दूसरा उपाय एक मैं आपको ये बताती हूँ कि जो लतीफ़ा कह लीजिए, आप बीती कह लीजिए, बहुत झेलना पड़ता है आपको। जो चेतना जी ने कहा था कि चूहे दौड़ा दिए जाते हैं, तो एक बेचारे सितार वादक ने कहा कि क्या गफूर मियाँ, मतलब अपने जो माइक वाले थे उनसे कहा क्या गफूर मियाँ, मैंने आपको 100 रुपये दिए थे कि हमारा वॉल्यूम तेज़ रखिएगा। तबले वाले कहा बढ़ाते गए, मैं कितना इशारा कर रहा हूँ, क्या हुजूर मैं क्या बताऊँ, उस कमबख्त ने मुझको 500 रुपये दे दिए थे। तो लीजिए, अब आप अगला देखने के लिए, अगले सेशन के लिए आप पूरी तरह से तैयार हैं।
थैंक यू सो मच मंजरी जी। Sorry, Jayashree ji, I'm very sorry. We're running out of time and we need to move on to the next focus group.
एक मिनट बोल रही, प्रसर्पितकरण की नहीं, वो ललित सुभग हाथ उठावे, एकस्तु रेचितौ हस्तौ लताख्यस्तु तथा परः, बाया हस्त लता कहलावे, पगतल सुंदर सरकत जावे, प्रसर्पितकम तलोपादो प्रसर्पित तलोपादो प्रसर्पितकम एव तत्। काय गो ललित सुबग हाथ उठावे दूजा हस्त लता कहलावे पगतल सुंदर सरकत जावे वह प्रसर्पित करण कहलावे.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Just by reading the Moola Shloka, we may not be able to get complete interpretation. So, the Lata Hasta falls like a Lata, limp like a Lata. And Rejita Hasta goes up. So, it is your interpretation.
लता हस्त की व्याख्या की अब ज्यादा बेटर मिलती है. की व्याख्या की है दोनों हाथ दोनों तरफ लूज रखिए. अब आप इस तरह से लूज रखते हैं, हम इस तरह से लूज रखते हैं और कोई और अलग तरीके से लूज रखता है.
No, it's fine. We will go on to the next session because they are a little anxious and they don't want
Little, they are more than anxious.
आम दर्शक, आम पाठक के रूप में अपनी बात कहने जा रही हूँ. आप सभी लोगों ने, विद्वान सारे लोग और जो छात्र हैं, मेधावी छात्र, उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ समा बांधा है कि मैं अपनी हिम्मत नहीं जुटा पा रही हूँ. लेकिन आम दर्शक, आम पाठक समीक्षा को सैद्धांतिक रूप में नहीं बल्कि किस रूप में देखना चाहेगा, उसका प्रतिनिधित्व करते हुए मैं कुछ बात कह रही हूँ. और समय की कमी के कारण लिखा हुआ पढ़ रही हूँ ताकि कम मिनटों में बात ख़त्म कर सकूँ. बोलूँगी नहीं, पढ़ रही हूँ. इसका शीर्षक है समीक्षा की उपेक्षा क्यों. नमस्कार. सबसे पहले तो मैं पुणे विश्वविद्यालय के ललित कला केंद्र संस्थान का तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगी, क्योंकि सुचेता जी के मार्गदर्शन में इन सभी लोगों ने इस दुखती रग पर हाथ रखा है. भारतीय संस्कृति के अनुपम धरोहर के रूप में अभिजात मानी जाने वाली शास्त्रीय नृत्य परंपरा अपने आप में अनूठी है. इसीलिए इसकी मौलिकता, इसकी गरिमा को संजोए रखने के लिए इसकी समीक्षा की आवश्यकता पहले भी थी, आज भी है और आगे जाकर भी रहनी चाहिए. प्रश्न ये उठता है कि आज के दौर में भारतीय नृत्य कला की समीक्षा उपेक्षित क्यों है. इस प्रश्न का उत्तर इतना आसान नहीं है. भले ही तुरंत फुरत इसके लिए अखबारों के संपादकों, संवाददाताओं और स्तंभ लेखन या प्रसंगोचित लेखन करने वालों को दोषी मान लिया जाए, लेकिन इससे समस्या की जड़ तक नहीं पहुंचा जा सकता. इस प्रश्न की तह तक जाने के लिए समाज की आज की मानसिकता को एक्सरे की निगाह से देखने की ज़रूरत है. आज का समूचा समाज क्या चाहता है, वो किस तरह की कला की मांग करता है, परंपरागत शास्त्रीय कलाओं को वो आज पूरी तरह से क्यों नहीं समझ पा रहा. अगर आम दर्शक, आम पाठक का नृत्य बोध बढ़ाना हो तो हमें क्या करने की ज़रूरत है, उसमें कौन सी मुश्किलें आ सकती हैं, इन मुश्किलों से निपटने के लिए नई राह बनाने के लिए किस तरह के उपाय संभव हैं. आने वाला समय हमारी परंपरागत कलाओं पर, खासकर अभिजात मानी जाने वाली कलाओं पर और किस प्रकार का आक्रमण कर सकता है, और फिर आक्रमण किया जाए तो वैसी सूरत में हमें क्या करना होगा, आदि आदि कितने ही पहलुओं की समीक्षा भी आज की तारीख में बहुत मायने रखती है, ऐसा मैं मानती हूँ. आम दर्शक, आम पाठक की निगाह से अगर समीक्षा की वर्तमान स्थिति पर गौर किया जाए तो बात घूम फिर कर बार बार अखबारों तक आकर अटक जाती है. महाराष्ट्र के स्थानीय अखबारों को हम अगर प्रातिनिधिक रूप में देखें तो पता चलता है कि इनमें नृत्य प्रस्तुति वाले किन कार्यक्रमों में कौन क्या प्रस्तुत करने जा रहे हैं, इसका एक तरह से ज्ञापन मात्र होता है. रही बात कार्यक्रमों के संपन्न होने के बाद की, इनकी समीक्षा नहीं बल्कि समाचार दिए जाते हैं. समाचार तो बस प्रसंग जीवी होते हैं ना. घटना क्या हुई, कहाँ हुई, आयोजक प्रायोजक कौन थे, कलाकारों का स्वागत सम्मान करने वाले कौन थे, आदि विवरण समाचार का दायरा है बस. एक तो संवाददाता नृत्य कला के शास्त्र से वाकिफ होगा ही नहीं, होगा एक तो संवाददाता नृत्य कला के शास्त्र से वाकिफ होगा, यह संभव नहीं। अगर वो वाकिफ हो भी तब भी समाचार लेखन की अपनी सीमाओं में रहकर ही उसे काम करना पड़ता है। ऐसे में फिर नृत्य कला की समीक्षा को थोड़ी बहुत सांस लेने के लिए मामूली सी जगह मिलती है, या तो किसी नृत्य कलाकार के विशेष नृत्य आयोजन के संबंध में रिपोर्टाज की पेशकश की अनुमति मिलने पर, या फिर कभी कभार सवाई गंधर्व संगीत महोत्सव जैसे आयोजनों का कुछ अधिक विवरण देने की छूट मिलने पर, या फिर किसी कलाकार के साक्षात्कार के माध्यम से। जी हाँ, साक्षात्कार या भेंट वार्ता के दौरान ऐसे सवाल किए जाएं जिनमें संबंधित कलाकार की नृत्य कला के बारे में प्रश्नकर्ता प्रश्नों के माध्यम से अपनी समीक्षा सामने रखे। उसको जवाब देने की प्रक्रिया स्वयं संबंधित नृत्य कलाकार उस पर अपनी बात आगे रखे, अपना स्पष्टीकरण दे। प्रश्नकर्ता और उत्तरदाता दोनों मिलकर नृत्य कला के शास्त्र के बारे में, उस समय की नृत्य प्रस्तुति के बारे में पाठकों को या श्रोताओं को सरल सुबोध भाषा में समझाते चलें, उनकी नृत्य साक्षरता को बढ़ाने का समुचित प्रयास करें। हाल ही में कथक गुरु मनीषा ताई साठे जी की 60वीं सालगिरह के उपलक्ष्य में उनके संगी साथी गायक वादक कलाकारों ने मिलकर एक कार्यक्रम का आयोजन किया था। उस समय कथक नृत्यांगना मनीषा अभय जी ने मनीषा ताई से साक्षात्कार किया था। बिल्कुल थोड़े से समय में मनीषा अभय जी ने इतने सटीक और ऐसे परिपूर्ण प्रश्न पूछे कि उनके उत्तर मनीषा ताई की व्यक्तिगत नृत्य जीवन की यात्रा पर स्वयं उनका अपना मनन चिंतन तो उभर कर सामने आया ही आया, साथ ही में वर्तमान में कथक नृत्य कलाकारों के आगे खड़ी होने वाली चुनौतियों की समीक्षा भी सार रूप में उनसे पूछ ली गई। मान लीजिए किसी अखबार से जुड़ा समीक्षक अगर यह भेंट वार्ता कर रहा होता तो शायद इस तरह के सवाल उसके ख्याल में ही नहीं आए होते। मनीषा अभय जी ने शायद अपनी नृत्य सेवा के माध्यम से जो कुछ अनुभव किया उसी की उपज वे सारे सवाल थे जो इस बात की भी समीक्षा कर गए कि कैसे कोई अपनी नृत्य शिक्षा की ओर देखे, किस प्रकार बुजुर्ग कला से प्रश्न पूछे। समीक्षक की भूमिका किन्हीं गिने चुने लोगों पर थोपने की अपेक्षा समीक्षात्मकता का माहौल पैदा होने की जरूरत शायद हर युग में होती है। हर कलाकार को, प्रत्येक गुरु और प्रत्येक छात्र को अपने अंदर का समीक्षक किस तरह से सहायक सिद्ध होता है, यह भी आम पाठकों तक रखना जरूरी होना चाहिए। भले ही इसके लिए लिखित माध्यम या फिर विचार गोष्ठियों का आयोजन किया जाए। सुचेता ताई जब तंजावर शैली और सरफोजी राजे के योगदान की ओर मुड़ी थीं, उसके बाद उन्होंने अपना अध्ययन, अपनी सोच एक कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से आम दर्शकों तक नृत्य से जुड़े हुए कलाकारों के साथ बांटी थी। आम दर्शकों के साथ और नृत्य से जुड़े कलाकारों के साथ अपनी सोच बांटी थी। अपने विवेचन में उन्होंने तंजावर के उस दौर के बारे में भी अपने कुछ अनुमान श्रोताओं को बताए थे। उनका अपना भाष्य, उनकी इस संदर्भ में समीक्षा इस बहाने से आम दर्शक पहुंची थी। इससे आम दर्शक, आम पाठक और आम संवाददाता के सामान्य ज्ञान में भी इजाफा हुआ था। सिर्फ पथदर्शी नृत्य कलाकार ही नहीं बल्कि एक नृत्य चिंतक के रूप में रोहिणी ताई भाटे जी को जाना जाता है। उन्होंने इस क्षणभंगुर कही जाने वाले कलाविष्कार के पीछे का दर्शन समय समय पर अपने व्याख्यान तथा लेखन के माध्यम से आम पाठक तथा विद्वान पाठकों तक पहुंचाया। उनका लेखन अपने आप में एक गहरी समीक्षा का आदर्श है। यही नहीं, उन्होंने बड़े परिश्रम पूर्वक इज़ाडोरा डंकन जैसी पाश्चात्य नृत्यांगना का जीवन भी मराठी पाठकों तक अनुवाद के माध्यम से पहुंचाया। इस पुस्तक की भूमिका में उन्होंने अपनी अनुवाद प्रक्रिया के बारे में विस्तार से बताया है। ऐसी पुस्तकों की समीक्षा करने वालों के लिए इस तरह का संवाद उच्च कोटि के संदर्भ मूल्य प्रस्तुत करता है। इस पुस्तक से जो बात और कहना चाहूंगी, पहले संस्करण के लगभग 3.5 दिन बाद इसका दूसरा संस्करण आया। इसकी भूमिका में रोहिणी जी की वरिष्ठ शिष्या, जो कि बाद में उनकी बहू के रूप में उनके परिवार का अभिन्न अंग बनी, शमाताई जी, उन्होंने अपने विचार रखे हैं। इस अनुवाद को पुस्तक रूप में लाने की प्रक्रिया में वे भी शामिल थीं। शमाताई ने अपनी भूमिका में महाराष्ट्र के उस समय का, उस युग का मुआयना अपने शब्दों में बयान किया है, जिन दिनों रोहिणीताई कथक की तरफ उन्मुख हुई थीं। रोहिणीताई को समाज की किस मानसिकता को झेलते हुए अपनी राह खुद बनानी पड़ी थी, ये हम सब पढ़ते हैं। तो इस दौर हेलो आवाज येतोय का? रोहिणीताई को समाज की किस मानसिकता को झेलते हुए अपनी राह खुद बनानी पड़ी, यह जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो उस दौर की सामाजिक समीक्षा हमें नृत्य कला के नज़रिए से पढ़ने को मिलती है। शमाजी ने तो अत्यंत प्रामाणिकता से स्वयं अपने मध्यम वर्गीय समाज की भी समीक्षा की है। अपने आप को उन्होंने किस तरह से तराजू में तोला, ये उन्होंने आत्मशा के बिल्कुल प्रभावी ढंग से लिखा है। मल्लिका साराभाई, झेलम परांजपे जी जैसी जानी कलाकार हस्तियां जब परंपरा के साथ नवता को जोड़ती हैं, तब उनके मनमानस में कौन सी उथल पुथल चल रही होती है, ये सब बातें आम पाठक तक सरल भाषा में पहुंचनी चाहिए। ये काम अगर अखबार या पत्रिकाएं नहीं भी कर पाते तो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स माध्यमों का सहारा लिया जाना चाहिए। आम पाठक का नृत्य कला के बारे में जब तक हर तरह से प्रबोधन नहीं होता, तब तक ना तो नृत्य के आंकों की तादाद बढ़ेगी और ना ही समीक्षकों की। शास्त्रीय नृत्य के संपूर्ण विश्व की गति प्रगति के लिए दर्शक और पाठकों की तादाद बढ़ना भी एक अहम मुद्दा है। इन्हीं में से गिने चुने उत्तम समीक्षक आगे चलकर तैयार होकर निकलने की गुंजाइश बनती है। समीक्षा के संजीदा विषय को उठाने के लिए मैं ललित कला केंद्र को बधाई देना चाहती हूँ। शुभांगी ताई, परिमल भाई ने मुझे यहाँ बतौर आम पाठक के अपने विचार रखने के लिए आमंत्रित किया, इसके लिए उनकी आभारी हूँ। आप सभी गुरुजनों ने मेरे इन सीमित विचारों को गौर से सुना, इसके लिए आपका भी हार्दिक आभार। समीक्षा और समीक्षक अपने दायरे से निकल कर बाहर आएं, यही आकांक्षा जाने माने हिंदी कवि दुष्यंत कुमार जी के शब्दों में अभिव्यक्त करना चाहती हूँ। दीदी अनुमति। मंजरी जी, दीदी आपसे अनुमति चाहती हूँ, शेर कह रही हूँ दुष्यंत कुमार जी का। दुष्यंत कुमार जी कहते हैं, मेरे सीने में नहीं तो तेरे सीने में सही हो कहीं भी आग, लेकिन आग जलनी चाहिए। सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, मेरी कोशिश है कि यह सूरत बदलनी चाहिए। धन्यवाद।
The last speaker for the session, Jyoti Tilak. She is the Associate Dean of Academics at IBS Pune and an MA in Economics. She will be reading a paper on the dance reader, which will deal with the changes observed by the average reader over the past 2 decades in the field of dance in India.
Very good afternoon and namaskar to all of you. To the distinguished guests and dance authorities, I really wonder what I have done to deserve your time. I'm really grateful to all of you for being here, because the usual practice is that after lunch, most of the people disappear, and the seniors especially, they are so busy that they have to move on. But thank you very much for being there. I'll tell you something about my journey of reading of dance. You would probably not find a better reader than me, because my daughter says, not only do I not come from any artistic gharana, but she says that I'm Rag, Tal and Sur challenged. So, with this, what can only happen is that I love to watch less and read more about dance, because there is a commonality that I share with the dancers. A dancer is usually all alone on the stage. I mean, there are people who accompany and they keep, the sur tal, but basically the dancer is all alone on the stage with his or her art. Much like that, the reader is all alone with his or her book. In that uniqueness, of being all alone with one's art or one's love, I share a commonality with dance. For the present, for me, I began to read dance quite by accident, actually. I came to Pune in the year 1982. And like most things, 82s was pre-liberalization. So we had some very strange ideas. We had some very strange ideas about culture, value. For us, for youngsters like me in those days, values was Desh ki dharti, sona ugle ugle. Okay, so all the dance that we saw was in movies. We read about a few dances once in a while, but we used to stay in far away, far-flung places, so we would only read about the dance over the weekends on Sundays. And we would say, oh, it must have been something very great, because we would look at those beautiful pictures. That was all that there was to it. But soon, when I came to Pune, I also grew wings. I went and stayed at a hostel. And the first experience is that you have to have problems with your roommate. And my roommate was a dancer. And I would gesticulate a lot, and I would talk, and she would say, are you a dancer by any chance? And I would feel very good, because without doing any effort, if people are calling you a dancer, what more could you want? So, and then she would say some bowls like the gurus were saying just now, and I would say, we'll discuss it. Soon she realized that I was no good at it, because I had no clue at all. And in 1987, for the first time, she said, let's go for a concert. And I tried saying, no, I'm busy, I have assignments. And she said, no, it's just next door, Ferguson College. And Suchita, I must thank you for this, because that was the first time I went for a dance recital. It was conducted by Spikmeke, and you presented it so beautifully that I thought it's not all that difficult. But I soon realized, once I went back, that it is way, way too difficult than I suspected it was. And then I got hooked onto it in a sense, but my roommate began to come up with, do you know this? And then do you know this mudras? And I would say, what? I'm learning economics. I'm not learning dance. So this went on for some time, and then Nemesis came in another form. I got married, and I had a daughter who at the age of 2.5 sat through a 2.5-hour recital without moving in her seat. And normally I wouldn't have taken her there, but it was raining so heavily, so I went and I sat in a dance auditorium, and she saw that Arangetram, and she didn't move, and every time I would budge, she would make a noise. So I would sit quietly, because I didn't want to disturb the rest, but that was my Nemesis, because she said she wants to learn dance. And that is how I understood that roommates can get back to you through your genes. And there I was, because by then my friend had already gone to the US. She got married. She started a dance school there. She forgot her economics. And here I was living my economics and trying to adjust to dance, which she had left with me. So then began my journey. And my daughter, naturally, we couldn't send her too far away, because I used to think that traveling should not take too much of your time. So I did, by then in the year 2000, I had finished my master's in library and information science at the university department. And I got an assignment which said that you have to do what is known as a subject gateway. Now, as all of you know, a subject gateway is essentially like a key to the subject. So if you want to create a subject gateway in dance, then it has to be something like a control over everything that gets written on or about dance. So I decided that I'll take up this subject gateway. Way back in the year 2000, technology was not as good as it is now. So I really, really slogged through it. I didn't make much headway. I didn't get good grades, but I did good enough to become a faculty member there. This time when when my daughter said she wants to learn dance, I began using the internet for the first time. And I think Parimal Phadke deserves a round of applause, because he was the first person who had put his web page way back for public consumption in the year 2003. And that is how I located him. Okay, and he was also studying in Mumbai at that time, and I said, I guess, yeah, he stays close by. So that is how I found, I took my kid to him and I said, you have got to teach him. So that's how my first interaction with, and then when I saw him, I thought he was too young to be doing Bharatanatyam. That triggered, no, I mean, I would have been okay if he was doing something called hip hop or thank you. Or any of these dances which we see on TV today. But when I saw his picture, I thought he looked very serious and maybe he will do a series of teaching my daughter. So I entrusted him with it. I even scolded him when he cancelled class because I used to treat her similar to a kind of babysitting. Please don't mind this. But at that time, I did someone sensible, reliable, and absolutely efficient to be able to teach the things right the first time. Okay, for me it was very, very important that she learns it right the first time, because the second time over, to undo and to clean, I know it's a tough job. So I used to send her to him, and then she would come back and she would start doing what my roommate used to do once upon a time. And then I realized the only way to beat the system is to start reading about it. And that is how I went to the books. I started reading about it. Unfortunately, I was challenged in terms of Sanskrit because a lot of it is in Sanskrit. And that was also the first time I realized that Sanskrit written in English looks like Russian. They write C with some where it's meant to be, yes. So and then I gave up. I used to think that Sanskrit, Marathi, something I would be able to understand. Then I gave up. And the irony was that my daughter came back from a workshop in Natya Shastra and she started reciting all that and it's written there. Can't you read this much? Then I realized that reading alphabets is not the same thing as reading. And I gave that up. Then I realized that I must prove a point, and that is how I went back to the books again. And the first time I went to a place called the OCLC World Catalog. It is called the World Catalog. And from there, I began my search. I used the tools of library science to do searches. And the first thing that I did was type dance India. And you won't believe it, it took me to a site where there was nothing related to Indian dance. It was dance American Indian. So I was getting all kinds of entries, and I said, what nonsense, there's not one Indian dancer, what happened to all of them? And then I realized that I had made a mistake. Now since my daughter learns Bharatanatyam, I decided I must do dance India Bharatanatyam, and I reached a beautiful page, which took me from being a general reader that I still am, to hoping that someday my daughter joins the ranks of the scholars and understands what is going to come her way. So this is essentially an exercise that I'm doing for my daughter and for others who are learning dance. I was away from home, and I had a few friends, but not all of them into artistic occupations. But my roommate was spelt my future in some sense. Also, like I said, in 1980s, money was hard to come. It's relatively easy to get money. Youngsters find it easy to get money now compared to 1980s when things were very expensive, and we lived in an India which had fewer options and greater risks, and the waiting used to kill people. In fact, there was a time when I wanted a vehicle, and when I went to book a vehicle, they said you'll have to wait for 3 years. It was a two-wheeler that I was asking. Okay, and today things have changed. So my frame of mind was very different. Also, we used to have some morals attached and some values attached. And we used to think that waiting is good, instant gratification is bad, that dance, and when we would see the pictures of dancers, we would think that it's a very, very expensive, it's a very expensive occupation, and only a very few would be able to do it. Next. In the 80s, the dominant form of entertainment was TV, and we didn't get too many opportunities except on DD, and thankfully DD still continues to give some very good programs, though very late in the night, and I wish that they change something about it so that when we come home, have a nice hot cup of coffee and we can see this. Doesn't happen. And yes, I continued to read while my roommate continued to do her adabus and her karanas, and I'm sorry, I really didn't know what it was, and her Tribhangi mudras, and then she would say, ye nahi theek hai. And then I would think Tribhangi mudra has got something to do with three, and then she would say, no, it is Krishna, and I wouldn't understand what she was saying. So I went back to my books. And as luck would have it, I stumbled upon the Routledge Dance Studies Reader. And this was because I had to submit an assignment, and I sat and I browsed through it. And believe me, the joy that I got was phenomenal, because I could see that there were others in the world outside of my country who were also like me, who were as dumb or as interested in a subject for whatever reason, and that they divided this into various categories. And they were modern dance, post-modern, etc., etc. And it gave you basics of how dance has evolved in various countries. The beauty was that I didn't have to go page by page, like trying to find out a Sanskrit shlok, for instance. It divided it beautifully for me into 5 sections. Next. And then I heard the word bibliographic control. That word is very important, though librarians have given this idea up. We now have accepted that we cannot really control the information or have access or golden control all that information. It is virtually impossible, because practically every single day more and more and more and more, and even more articles, essays, theses, dissertations, monographs, conference proceedings, etc. are being published. The sad part is that not all of it gets recorded. Okay, so even if we do something like this and we do not put it in a university library, a lot is lost. So I think this attempt at bibliographic control has been done by many libraries. Prominent among them in India, we have Kalakshetra, where you get a lot many. Then we have some institutes in Delhi, one institute in Mumbai, which probably try to collect as much information, maybe in terms of video recordings, in cassettes, monographs, microfilms, etc. But the same also is happening in the US, in UK, in Australia, New Zealand, and they have separate departments of dance. At this juncture, I tell you that till the year 2000 almost, dance was, when you did a study, a search in Google or even in the Library of Congress, you would put dance and you would get hundreds of entries. Now you have to put dance studies. Okay, so we have moved from dance to dance studies. And there's a rule which says that when does a concept become a subject of study? For librarians, the rule of thumb is very simple. It says that normally we have places allocated for various subjects. But the minute that place becomes insufficient, and that happens when more and more authors, more and more scholars begin to contribute to it, they have discussions over it, that the scale begins to improve. And the minute the space required in the library, at least in those days we had books and mimeographs, when the space begins to increase, it begins to qualify to get a separate status as a subject. So now we have something called dance studies. We don't call it just dance. So before this, we used to have 3 basic forms in which dance studies were divided. One is the primary, which is what most individual students, scholars do for their PhD or their MPhil dissertations, or maybe small research projects, minor projects. Then, can we go back? Then you have the secondary, wherein you refer to some studies which were done earlier, a kind of a review of literature from which you begin to start doing your work. And then finally, we have the tertiary. What they do not teach you, and I am going to share this with you, is that normally you begin with the primary, is what you are told in your classrooms, irrespective of the subject. But believe me, the best way to begin is to start at the tertiary. You start with the last. you find out it's a bibliographies in a sense. So you start with a bibliography, it takes you to various authors, it takes you to various experts, it takes you to various controversies, it takes you to the secondary material, and that is where your research ideas might begin, because today we really do not have the time. We might start with a primary, at the end of 3 years we'll discover that someone else has already done a study. So why don't we go to the tertiary sector first, the tertiary sources first. A best example of the tertiary is the OCLC World Catalog. It's called the World CAT. Next. Yeah, what does it give you? It gives you various details like writings in narrative styles, social cultural context. It tells you about various mediums, methods, duration, tradition, whether this dance form continued for long, did not continue, when did it exist, were there any modifications that took place, etc. But these have all been contributed by scholars. So it is not something that gets written in the newspaper and gets published as part of a bibliographic control exercise. Next. See, newspapers are very ephemeral in the content. It is bad, it is very informative, but it is very ephemeral. It doesn't have too much of lasting value. On the other hand, journal articles continue to be referred, and we have also something called a citation index, which gets, so the first thing that I would have done as a scholar of dance is go to the tertiary sector, and we will take an example, we've done it, go to the tertiary sources, look up some topic of interest, and then go back. It will automatically take you to readings and articles by scholars, and you will be able to figure out how reliable, quote unquote reliable, meaning how much respect or how much standing they have in their community, in the scholarly community, is known when you look at the citation index. Okay, so your references, your bibliographies become very important when you write. So the first thing that you do is look at the references and then decide whether you're going to read more by this person or you're going to go for someone else. Now, incidentally, when I did a search, I was surprised. I used a search for Bharatnatyam, and I found the majority of articles that got churned out. The list that came out contained 21 by a lady called Kalpana. Okay, and I was saying, oh, Kalpana must be my daughter's classmate, Kalpana. And I began to see there are 21 entries by D. They are all in French. The next that came were by the next that came were by Sudha Rani Raghupati. There were 12 entries. And then I was even surprised to see that there were very few articles that came after the year 2004. For some strange reason, 2004 seems to be a bad year in terms of dance contributions for Bharatnatyam. There was one that I found very interesting. It was called Paratanatyam and was written in the year 1979, and it was re-edited and added along with Dr. Sunil Kothari with Mulk Raj Anand. And I never thought that Mulk Raj Anand would have anything to do with dance, but I think that's one thing that happens when you read about dance, you discover many things. And another interesting thing that I discovered was that there is this person called Reginald Massey. Yes, for me it was a discovery. The irony of it was that when the Encyclopedia of Dance and Ballet was written, he was invited to write about dances on India. So, for me, it was irrelevant. For me, the fact is that he is not in India, and here I read a name which doesn't sound even Indian, and there's this person writing on, and then he writes obituaries for the greats like Zora Sehgal, Ravi Shankar, Mehdi Hasan, Sultan Khan, and Ali Akbar Khan, Bhimsen Joshi, Gangubai Hangal. And I said, what am I doing? And read those obituaries, I was moved. I realized that this is what scholarship is, and maybe that is how he has moved there. Another person that came as a big to me was a lady called Irani Nargis. Yeah. The lone entry of her in Library of Congress is a picture. So I tried searching and then I gave up because I fell upon many more treasures and I thought that I would share some of them with you. You already know them, but I'm sure most of the students who are doing dance would not have heard of them, even if they made it part of the teaching course. Most of the students do not have access to such resources. They probably read only textbooks or notes which have been given to them year after year. They really don't have the opportunity to go and discover many more things. Yeah. So my favorite start point is bibliographies because that takes me closer to these colleges. Yeah, this is when does a subject become eligible for a separate class or a separate code. Next. Yeah, this is what I did with the OCLC catalog, and it was very interesting. Earlier, ma'am. Yeah, I did this small search. I started with Bharatnatyam. It gave me 5 main categories of dancers, dance, Tamil, heritage, song, and ethnography. And the numbers came to 527. From these, I went down. Can we go down? It's taking a long time. Then I went to the New York Public Library because I thought these are relatively easily available. So that's where I went, and I looked at the same thing. They gave me different scope, and the scope was chronological, geographical, language. And believe me, I was absolutely surprised to see that they were not just Indian languages for Bharatnatyam. They were Sinhalese, Chinese, Australian, Danish. And I was wondering who will bother, and then suddenly I saw a title in German. Then I realized that this language division is very important. Then we had it according to various medias, and they were very kind to even say what they have excluded. And yes, that becomes very important because it saves you a lot of time. Yeah, you should know what is not there. What is there, you probably would take time to. So then came the format. So you could use keywords like authors, title, journal, subjects, genre, ISSN and ISBN. But the beauty was they also have staff call number. And the staff call number really made life so happy for me because it meant that you could call up a person at the other end and say, will you please help me fetch this? You get it for me. There were times when it said video. And down they said downloadable. Wonderful. But these kind of entries for a librarian are amazing. So this was very, very useful. From 27, I narrowed it to 21. And I got online articles, online exhibitions, digital galleries, digital projects, collections which were of various kinds, with or without download facility, and some online catalogs. So my experiments with the searches went something like these. I started with Bharatnatyam, went into performing arts, and then into dancing. Which further went into books. And 214 books, I thought should not be very difficult to manage. But then I realized that even in books, there were e-books, there were theses, and there was one microform. There were videos which were 74, and I especially looked at Blu-ray because I thought, what is this? I have to open this Blu-ray and see. And they had given a very beautiful description of what is contained in that microform. So much so that they had said that up to minute 5.7, the voice quality is very good. Between 5 and 8, you can skip, and after 8, it starts again. I mean, this kind of thing, if I give to any of my dance scholars, they will be so happy. They will say, please, give me some more of this, and we will write something interesting. Yeah, for the musical score, there was only one, and I especially clicked on it to see that it was by Gauri Kuppuswamy, and a person that my daughter keeps talking about, Lalgudi Jairaman. I don't know why she talks about him, but that name has stuck in my head. So I think that it is important, and it must be because her teachers must have named this person. So I said, we must look at this, and then we went to a website. The last website is amazing. and I would suggest that at least once in a while we take a look at this. It's called the Oxford Dictionary of Dance. Okay, there are glossaries and glossaries, but the Oxford Dictionary of Dance would also include glossaries or terminologies which are specific to India or Bharatnatyam. So it's not as if it is not related to Indian dance, but these entries are very useful. Yeah, I want all the students who are in the auditorium today to kindly take a look at this person. In case you don't know who this person is, please find out about this person, because scholarships for learning of dance abroad have been institutionalized on this forum by this person. He is no more, but I think you should do this much. I have shown you a picture. Your scholarships are waiting. You might not get scholarships in India for learning dance, but there are scholarships here. Next. Yes, this was my find, and I was so happy. And now that you're telling me that I don't have to feel very happy, I will make some corrections and put better pictures next time. Next. Yes, I was absolutely impressed, because this is the latest dissertation in dance that has been published by a Indian in North Carolina, and she is a professor of religious studies. So when I started with my daughter learning dance, and she said it is a temple dance, I thought we've come full circle. Okay, we've come full circle in that sense. In 2014, you have a non-Indian doing a PhD in temple dance, using resources from India, which are available outside. We therefore, I think, have become truly global. We now are not going to talk only about Indian dance or Indianness of dance and so on and so forth. So this was very beautiful. She has written a book called Embodying Bhakti Rasa in Bharatnatyam, and though I did not get access to it, I was very happy that in the year 2014, that is this year, you have someone who can inspire you. Okay, I understand that are greats. They've already walked their long journey. They've reached this place. And when I heard the discussion today, and when I saw all these gurus discussing nuances and memories, I understood that it is something that cannot be compressed in time. You have to walk that long distance. But here there is someone who can walk with you, who can walk the same way like you, make the same mistakes, and probably even more mistakes than you, because culturally, at least, you have inherited something common, but they do not have that also. Now, I saw this morning, and I realized that even if I read about dance, even if I read library science, my firm belief in economics is unshakable. Okay? Now, the reason is very simple. You've been reading the news, and you'll see that especially after 2007, 2008 financial debacle in the US, and after the crisis that is happening across the globe, you'll see a country like Greece, which is known for its art, aesthetics, architecture, dance, is issuing an invitation like this. Please read it carefully. It says we require support by teaching a free class for Greek dancers, and there is a collaborative conference. We are asking people to offer a dance class in any style or focus. That means even if at the end of the day, economics makes it difficult for you to go to your dance class, to buy the latest technologies, to get access to some of the best equipments of recording, I think you will see that as long as we have our gurus, as long as we have and as long as we have this hope and happiness that comes out of dancing, we will keep having conferences like these, irrespective of their financial implications. There is one small thing that I'd like to inform you, that nowadays, this OCLC, we have electronic resources which come in various forms like articles and databases, online exhibitions, digital galleries, and then we have collections in various categories like research, which are again divided into manuscripts and archival. They are also priced, and some of them are even available for free. in the formats, one format that needs special mention is visual material. We are going to see more and more of it. And thankfully, technology has played its part. It has made it possible to produce more and more resources online and share them. Kindly make it your business to share as many resources as possible, because sharing doesn't cost anything. It only increases the fund of knowledge that all of us have. And hopefully then I will not have to take the responsibility of reading daughter. My daughter's teacher, Parimal Phadke, is ordering it. But I thought that I might be able to assist him. Today I know that there are many more people who are assisting him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jyoti ji, for that wonderful presentation, and especially for us students, because we do have the internet at our fingertips, but to search through that deluge of information is definitely a daunting task, and I think you gave us a head start on how to do that. We come to the conclusion of our seminar, and I hand over the mic back to Parimal Phadke, who will do the concluding. Thank you.
Before we call it a day, I request Sucheta ji come and speak a few words. And unfortunately, we don't have our HOD. She had to go for some administrative work. We'll conclude the seminar with a certain message. Thank you.
It's been very, very rewarding, all of you coming together, and it's like one of my dreams come true for a long time. Thanks a lot. Lot has been said, a lot has been digested, lot is still to be digested. As I always say, a cow in a seminar, you take a lot of things, like cow does. You must ruminate, you must think over it, write about it. Yes, everybody, I always say, whatever after the lecture, we never consider any books, or we always talk, but next lecture you must try to write whatever you do. And I think all this has been a really thought-provoking discourse for all of us, for which we thank all these. And we expect we come together in. Thanks a lot. Thank you, all the participants.
At the very outset, I thank the 4 focus groups of critics, the dancers, the editors, and the readers. It goes without saying that this wouldn't have been possible without the extensive, very active support of our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Gade, and our missionary, Dr. Shubhangi Baulikar, our HOD, who has been time and out signing off every particular paper whenever needed, whenever required. Since last 3 years, we have been having so many interesting seminars, research projects convened by our gurus, and this is an inspiration for us to carry on this further. I thank once again all the students who have been running day and out. For some, they missed out on the speeches, but I assure them that all of this is going to be available on the net, on our research column of the website. So once again, thank you, and have a great day. Thank you.